It's the 15th of February, 2001.
Okay. Chris Hope. Okay. The purpose of this meeting is to find out the details of the Ruth Marker apple pie.
Well, I tell you, before I got married, Martha Rockman had a shower on me, a kitchen shower. And she says, Ruth, I'd like to have you come over and I'll teach you how to make apple pie. So I was over there one whole morning. I worked at night and then I was over there in the morning so she could teach me. And I'll just give you the recipe that she gave me. You have 2 cups of flour, sifted, a quarter teaspoon of salt, and 1 cup of Crisco. If you want to make a single shell, you take a half cup of Crisco and 1 cup of flour, nothing to it. But anyways, for 1 double crust pie, you sift the flour and then you use a pastry cutter. Is this clear? Pastry cover and really work in the Crisco and the flour. And it takes a little while, but it's worth it. And then you have a half a cup of water ready and just dump in half a cup of cold water. Oh no, don't put the whole half, just a little at a time.
Yeah, a little at a time.
And keep mixing until it gets sort of not real sticky, but a little bit. And
I don't get pickles.
and then you take a ball about like this out of the bowl and just pat it a little bit and put it down on a floured board, yeah. And then you start rolling real easy until it's about maybe an 1/8 of an inch thick.
Zoom in. Zoom in on the hands.
Huh?
I'm zooming in on the hands.
Okay, 1/8 of an inch thick. And when it's a little bigger than the pie tin, you just take your roller and start on the very edge. You might have to use a knife to get started here. And it rolls right up. You just fit it right over the pie tin. Pat it down a little bit, edge it all the way around, all the extra. Put that back in with the other, and you can mix it just a little when you. And then you have Macintosh apples, and you cut them real thin. Oh, probably 1/8 of an inch or so. And you fill the tin up so it just bulges a little bit. Not too high because then the juice will run out. And then you add if the Macintosh apples are sweet, it depends on how green they are. Why, 3/4 cup of sugar is usually enough. Sprinkle that all over the apples. And then I just took cinnamon and just sprinkled it all over, but they didn't. Maybe a half teaspoon, did you say? Teaspoon of cinnamon. And sprinkle that over the sugar. And after that you have about, not quite a half of margarine. And slice that up real thin around the apples and in the middle. And then you're ready for your crust. And you do the crust the same way. Roll it out thin. But before you put the crust on, you wet the edges. With cold water.
Okay.
With cold water.
Cold water, and that keeps it so it sticks. And then you put the crust over and trim it all the way around. And then you take your fork, go around the edges. You can make it sideways this way, fancy or not. But anyways, and then I took a paring knife and would cut little things all the way down, and on this side, and on this side. And then I'd take a fork here, 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 here. Punch.
Straight down, punch holes, air holes. Here, 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 here.
So now the pie is all ready, except to have a little milk. I put my fingers in a little milk and just spread over the pie, on the edges and all, and then sprinkle just a little white sugar on.
White sugar.
But in the meantime, my oven is 450 degrees.
Ooh. 450, okay.
450. And I put it in the oven for 15 minutes. And after 15 minutes, it just started to brown a little bit. And then you turn it down to 325 and leave it in for a whole hour.
Ooh.
It's a lot in that baking it. You open the oven, you got a beautiful pie. But you know, you might put something underneath on the lower shelf in case it dribbles a little bit. Then you won't have to clean your oven.
So that's an hour baking total, or an
Hour
hour
25.
after you turn it down?
Hour 25 altogether.
Okay.
And that's the pie. And you can eat it hot or cold.
And there's no lemon in it?
No, oh no, Macintosh you don't need any.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And I hope you have good luck with it.
I'm sure that we will. If we can duplicate that recipe,
Yeah.
we just have to watch our P's and Q's. Well, we're going to enjoy that recipe.
Yeah.
Big
But
time.
it's that baking too. Have the oven real hot when you put the pie in. And then just 15 minutes. I don't know, it does something to the crust.
Okay, thanks.
Who was Martha Rockman?
Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Who was Martha Rockman?
They're the ones that brought Mardell up. Her mother and dad. And Martha Rockman was a school teacher out in the Peak Hill Mountains somewhere. She was a business major. And she come home and fell in love with Dick Rockman, who was working for my dad. And they were married and went to town. They done real good. And they lived on the same street that Randy Peterson lives on now.
Oh,
Across the street from Randy in that house. And that's where I learned to make the pie.
so she was a good cook.
She loved to cook, yeah. Her mother was Aunt Tilly. And
I
Uncle
remember her.
Oscar, and
Yeah.
Uncle Oscar. And they lived at the end of our house, the street on Chapman Street there.
Now, does Gladys do much cooking, your sister Gladys? Is she a pretty good cook?
No.
Okay.
Well, she is now,
That's
but
okay.
she didn't cook much.
But when she was younger than that, she never
No.
cooked much in that.
No. She was always busy working at Jamestown Journal. Yeah, Jamestown Journal. She had a pretty good job there. And then when they were married, then she worked with Allegheny State Park, Allegheny College, whatever he went to. And they lived in poverty.
Give a little message to Aunt Gladys and Uncle Phil.
And Etty was a real good cook. Yeah, we really loved her cooking. She loved to cook.
Did she have a specialty that you like to go there and eat?
Well, I just loved her string beans with mushroom,
Oh.
cream of mushroom soup. No, everything was special with her.
Isn't that
And
something?
Philip was right by her side all the time helping. Yeah, they had a lot of fun cooking.
Is there anything particular you'd like to have Gladys know about you at this point?
Well, Gladys, she knows how much I love her. And we've always had fun. But she's been special to all the kids, really. And I just want you to know that I really, really love you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
How about Uncle Philip?
Well, Philip,
What do you remember about Uncle Phil?
we got into a lot of mischief.
Oh.
Do you remember when you went flying over the railroad tracks and you had the kids, a whole bunch of kids in Grandpa's Buick, and we were going up towards Mayville to have our Sundays, and he went flying over the railroad track. It was pitch black, and the car lights went off. Couldn't see anything. So they had their heads out the window, and one was walking up ahead just to get to the little town to see if we could get a light fixed.
Fix it.
Boy, that was scary.
Oh.
Pitch black on this little road.
But you made it back, huh?
Yeah, we went up there, they fixed our lights. I don't know if it was a fuse or loose or something, but I don't know how far we went before we got those lights fixed.
That is something.
So really, Uncle Phil's biggest memory is synonymous with mischief. A lot of mischief. Yeah.
And another time when we went to the World's Fair, I think there were 9 of us that went to the World's Fair, 35, probably 1935. And we had 2 apartments, one for the boys, one for the girls, kids from church. And I tell you, that was a riot. And my dad had met some friends that had the same birthday as Philip. I mean, their girl had the same birthday as Philip. Her name was Svea Lord. I don't know why I remember that name.
Unbelievable.
And we were supposed to go to her house for a birthday party. Because Dad had called. It was Philip's her birthday. And this was in Chicago. We didn't know anything about Chicago. We drove. We had the directions. We didn't find them. We were supposed to eat at 6, and we got at 9:30.
Oh, no.
Do you remember that, Phil?
You bet.
But we sure had a good time, didn't we?
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if I dare tell about the Centerville boy.
I think so.
I think you should.
This is your opportunity.
Tell it all now, Mother.
The preacher, do you remember Howard Centerville? And he was he was our church organist, and he was good. He was just a young kid. But when he got undressed, the guy said his shorts were way down below his knees. And everybody laughed. So he come over to our apartment to show us. I tell you, that's about all.
Okay.
We got home okay.
Okay.
The rest of no, when we got to
Wait a
Cleveland,
minute.
we didn't have any money. And so we didn't eat, but we did buy enough gas, and we drove right into Chapman Street on an empty tank.
Oh, no.
And no money.
I can't believe your dad let you go.
Yeah, he figured about that, as long as Philip was with it.
As long as Philip... Mr. Mischief.
Oh, one time in Chicago, we were going to a show where they had striptease then. Do you remember that, Phil?
Yep.
We got in and sat down, and when it started in, Phil said, "This is not for us. We're getting out of here."
Yeah.
So we left.
So it was an accident that you got in there.
No, we thought it'd be fun to see.
Oh.
There's no accident.
You remember that, Phil? You'll get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we had a lot of fun, didn't we, Phil?
You
Yeah,
bet.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the end of my story for today.
For today. We had been talking about going to the Chicago World's Fair. We asked about transportation of the group from Jamestown to Chicago. Tell us about how you got there. How many were there?
Well, I tell you, 9 of us kids from church went. And we had Dad's 7-passenger Buick, but we put a dining room table leaf across the 2 middle chairs so we could sit 9 there. And so when we got real stiff in that, every time we stopped at a certain place where Philip could turn off a little bit, we'd all get in and outside and run around the car. And then we'd jump back in again and keep on going to get our exercise. But we'd take different seats when we jumped back in. And really, we had a good time. And we sort of start running out of money at the end. And so we didn't eat much on the way home. And I think when we got to Cleveland, we each bought an ice cream cone or something and filled the tank. And then we just barely got in on Chapman Street on an empty tank.
Empty
You remember
stomach.
that, Phil?
And no money in your pocket.
No. Gone.
Go, go on. Okay. Well, okay. Go ahead.
That's it.
Just asking about how in the world they had 9 people in the 7-passenger Buick. What did they do with all their luggage?
Well, I tell you, you just wrap your luggage in heavy black tar, put tape on it, and not tape, but belts. And you just put them up in the, what do you call them, fenders?
Yeah.
And then in the back, there was a, let me see now, the guy that was driving, he had his clear running board. The other side was sort of a rack where we had that whole running board full of stuff. I can't remember if we had any in the back at all, but the running board was full of suitcases.
Did that Buick have a trunk in it?
No,
No trunk.
no.
Did you take food along with you to eat on the trip?
We each had a sack. No packing.
You didn't pack a lunch?
Yeah, we had stuff with us, but
Yeah.
we had to hold it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see you in a little bit.
Yeah.
Asked Mom was to give her testimony on how she became a Christian and where she was. And Ma, give us.
Well, I'd always gone to Sunday school because my dad was superintendent for 13 years. But we had an evangelist there, and I can't quite remember his name, but he sure loved kids. And this was on a Sunday morning when he gave the invitation. And I went forward. I was one of the first ones, and I was crying real hard. And accepted Christ then as my Savior. And then when I got home, Mother had dinner on the table and everything, and I went right upstairs and I just cried and cried. It seemed like for hours. And I really wanted the Lord to know that I wanted forgiveness for all my sins.
Yeah.
And you know, I really felt like I had a real experience. In the meantime, my dad come up a couple different times, and he prayed with me, and he was so happy. And it was just a real satisfaction. And I felt like really the Lord's been close to me all my life. So no matter what come up, I could always ask him for forgiveness.
So it took quite a long time to ask for forgiveness of all those sins you had, or what?
Well, I don't know. But anyway, I wasn't hungry or anything.
No, no. Oh, thanks, Grandma.
Okay, I'm recording.
Okay. We do have a little surprise for you, Mom.
Oh no!
We did find...
I can't believe
We did find the burping apron. And I guess this is about 56 years old plus.
Yeah, whatever age you are.
Now, explain what was what. Now, why the big sleeves here? That's the...
Well, that's to put the baby over on your shoulder.
So it didn't
yeah.
burp on your clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Sure
you
looks
keep
like
a
it did.
diaper in here to throw over if they spit up,
And?
and a bottle or
Yeah.
whatever you need.
You could carry everything. With a
Yeah.
baby, it's hard to carry all that
And you
junk.
walk around the floor and just...
Yeah.
My mother made that for him. That was the first one. And I used it for Adele, but I don't think I used it for Chris.
You lost it on the way, huh?
And
Well, I put it away and you couldn't find it. But you know,
It's in good shape, too.
It's
A
in
little
good
raggy
shape.
on a couple of the edges. I should
know.
just run it around the machine there to tack down a few little
I
edges.
think when we sell the apple pies, we'll probably make up a
wouldn't it?
couple hundred of these and have them out on the counter.
They
and we'll
think
sell
they're going to
burpee
start a
papers.
shop at apple pie.
Well, I've never had any of your apple
I
pie.
thought you'd get a kick out of seeing
You
that.
have to sit.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
didn't
know.
realize it was in such good condition.
I'm not
Oh,
staying
it's in
long.
great condition.
I'm waiting for Lil.
So I think I'll wear this to some of our family events.
And take her back home.
You do that.
You...
Come on now.
Oh, no. I'll tell you, when we found this, we couldn't figure out at
Those
first.
little seams around the edges have
Isn't that nice?
ripped
See if
out.
I just take that on a machine and
We brought in a document that has to do something with Aunt Ruth.
Well, Aunt Ruth come over with Mormor, Esther, and Stein Erickson. And my dad signed papers that he would be responsible for them. And so when they got over here, he got them a job. And Aunt Ruth couldn't speak any English or anything, but she worked for Dr. Goodell up at the lake. And the other girl that was working for Dr. Goodell could speak English, so she helped her. And she did chambermaid work and stuff like that, but they had the company all the time, so she learned quite fast. And I tell you, she was so good to us kids. And really, whenever the Goodells were gone, she had all us kids up to that beautiful mansion on the lake.
Brave woman.
And so in the photo book of when I was little and I had long blonde hair, I'm laying on the dock with her. And that's Aunt Ruth.
Okay.
And she got a job in the factory afterwards and worked a while and of course come to our church, and she met a Larson, what's his first name, and they were married, and he wasn't very good to her. And so they were going to go to Sweden, and he left her there. So he comes back and marries another woman at church.
Whoa.
So he's a bigamist?
Well,
Polygamist.
yeah.
Get the right word here.
But he was the one before they got married, when he would come to our house on Chapman Street, and we were living there then, and he pulled me on his lap in the living room.
Uh-oh.
And goes like this, you know. I slapped his face and got up and ran out.
You
And still
bet.
my Aunt Ruth married him, so I don't know.
Oh, he had problems.
Yeah. So that's the story, the short story of Aunt Ruth. But before she got married, she was just precious.
Hmm.
And I don't know what happened. And she stayed over there and worked some, and then they finally put her in some kind of a home. So she was in a home for a long time before she died. But
Was she ill, or
Huh?
was she ill? Is that why she was in a home? Or?
I don't know, but she sat and made doll clothes and dressed dolls that they sold there at the home. I know that part, but I don't know. But Cornelia and them used to go see her, because they thought a lot of Aunt Ruth. So that's about all I know as far as, but oh, she was wonderful before she got married.
And that was Edith's sister,
My mother's sister.
your mother's sister. Okay.
And we were so glad that Bruno was gone before all this came about.
Oh,
Yeah.
great day. And I asked her about the pletar recipe. What is the pletar? What are pletar?
Well, pletar are a Swedish thin pancake where you probably have 7 little circles on your pletar iron. And really, Mark Thompson has a recipe in his billfold. So if I'm not quite right, you can check with him. But I never have had a recipe. I count and see how many I'm making pletar for. And I'll start out with 4, and then you can double it up. So for 4 people, I'd use probably 6 eggs. Beat them up in a bowl. Add 2 or 3 tablespoons of sugar. Beat that. And then I add, no, this is the milk part anyways. I'd say probably a 1.5 to 2 cups of milk. Beat that good together. And then I'd add, I'd start out with probably a cup to a 1.5 cups of flour. And then you sort of stir and see how thick it is. You don't want it very thick. It's supposed to be real runny. And I'd add just a little bit of vanilla. And then I have my pletar iron fairly hot. And the first time I put just a little Crisco or something on it. But then you don't have to grease it anymore. And you just take a tablespoon and put in each little thing, and then take a knife, kitchen knife, and just turn them, and then put them on the platter when they're done.
How long on each side that first turn?
Not very long. If the iron is hot, it goes fast.
30 seconds or?
Probably, yeah, plenty of time. just until they brown a little bit. Then turn them over, and then once you turn them over, they brown faster. And I put them on a platter that I could put in the oven, and I'd have the oven probably 275, just enough to keep them warm. And I had make great big platters full. And
Who's go ahead.
one time I had David and Josh Paula over, and they were trying to outdo each other. And one kid, David ate 73, and Josh Paula could just make it to 70.
Oh.
He said, "Oh, I can't eat another one."
I knew.
So that's a little comparison.
70.
Bert used to eat around 50.
Yeah.
And but you know, the kids just love it. And that's what David wanted for his birthday one year.
Plettar.
So I made pretzel for he and some of the boys. But I said, never again. They ate 70 every time.
How many can you do at a time?
I think it's 7.
7.
So it don't take that long, but it's the idea of filling and turning and...
So you had to do 20 Plettar irons full for David and Josh. Over 20 Plettar.
And then they were ready for more, and I said, no, you got to come back.
Okay. That's the story on
But
Plettar.
you know, I think I probably had about 8 eggs that day.
At least 8 eggs.
Yeah. And then strawberry on them is real good.
Oh.
Frozen strawberries and any kind of maple syrup or syrup, are real good.
Little whipped cream? Never had cherry and strawberry?
No, that was waffles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's the story.
That's a story on Plettar.
Yeah.
We'll see you a little bit later for Belgian waffles or
Oh, no.
Swedish pancakes. We don't have that one on there.
That's
Those-
Swedish pancake pleasure.
Oh, it's the same thing, the big round ones that we used to make so thin and
Well,
roll them up?
Batter.
Same batter, okay.
You
Oh,
just have a little pan that's rounded, and that you have to put a little more butter in so they turn easy. Like omelets, and they turn easy. But that was when I was in a hurry.
okay.
Now, yesterday, we were enjoying a delightful story about Edith and the Carlson house painter. Would you care to share that with us again, Mom?
Yeah. Well, this fellow was the only guy in town that dared to paint the church steeples and the steeple in town where the clock was. Nobody else dared to climb up that high. And we had a real high house on Chapman Street. And my dad got to know him quite well because he was such a heavy drinker.